So wholesaling is a technique that allowed me to get out of a rat race, become completely financially free. And honestly, I can do whatever I want when I want. It is a very freeing feeling. It comes at a cost. You actually have to put in work. But if you follow exactly what we teach at freewholesaling.com, let me put this up here. Okay. Those of you who are looking to, hey, I've never heard of this before, what's going on? Go over to freewholesaling.com. It is a 100% all free wholesaling course, teach you from start to finish how to get your first deal and up to your first $100,000, but it doesn't stop there. I put my 20 years experience on the line. I put Zach's 5-year experience on the line, and we actually run a 7-figure wholesaling operation. We do it right here in South Florida, and I've been doing this 20 years, and I'm like crazy. I actually love this business. So I want to share it with you. So here's how we work. I've expanded to do Monday nights because Thursday and Friday get so full and we do one-on-ones. So in the comment section, I want you to use the comments to post where you guys are from, what market you're in. And these are great people to network. Make sure you vet everyone if you don't know them. I can't speak for everybody personally. I can speak for quite a few people I've done business with, but use the comment section to share information. If you have a question, put it in the comment section. Now, let me put on the invite here. Okay. And I will put in how to join the one-on-ones live. You just click that link. The idea is if you want to work on some deals together, if you want to talk about your virtual wholesaling operation, honestly, anything you have to do with wholesaling, I am wide open for it. So we do this so we can share as much content and information for you. Guys, I don't have a course. I don't have anything to sell you. So when you do the one-on-one lives, I'm going to give it to you all. I don't hold anything back like most gurus do. Let's face it. If you got to sell something, you got to keep it behind a brick wall. And the only way to get through the brick wall is pay them. I don't do that. I make plenty of money wholesaling. I just think coaching wholesaling as a whole is, well, I'm not going to say any more on it. So, so that's it. So I'm going to go through probably about 20, 30 minutes and go through virtual wholesaling. And if you've never done virtual wholesaling or you're considering doing it, this is a great live to be on. I'll share on that. So do me a favor, guys. Make sure you put your comments and your questions in there. I'll answer them as much as I can. And my God, make sure you are subscribed to the Rick Ginn channel. My son has a channel too, Zach Ginn, and we both collaborate on the Flip with Rick channel. So make sure you subscribe to all of them. And for God's sakes, give me some love on this. I do this for free. I do this as a service. I do this to create a legacy. And I really want to pull back the veils on wholesaling and show you how to do it from a successful wholesaler's operation. And guys, this is who I am. This is how I operate. And I don't have some like crazy sales pitch to give you. So without further ado, if you guys are brand new here, go to freewholesaling.com. We'll show you how to get started with everything. It's 100% free. Just jump in there. And that is the best place to go. So let me check my comments before I get started. What's up, Corey? What's up, Tom? What's up, Paul? Shay? Oh my gosh, there's a lot of you on here. That's awesome. Denzel, Justin, Jim, Steven. Boy, you guys are early to the party. I love it. Olivia, as always. And so let's get into it. So let me get started here. Let me find my notes here. So we're talking everything about virtual wholesaling. And just so you know what the definition of virtual wholesaling is, when you do a market in relations to wholesaling outside of your physical local market. And I would say anything outside of 75 to 100 miles, because I call those kind of outskirts areas. So if I wanted to say go to California, Nebraska, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and I'm in Florida, that would open me up to a virtual wholesaling market. So let me go through the reason why people like to do virtual wholesaling, because sometimes you guys are in markets that are just so established, so mature, and so thick with investors that a lot of the average price points are starting at $1 million plus. And if you go to places like San Francisco, LA, New York, Miami, these are all places that honestly, the price points are just so in left field. Wholesaling, to be honest with you, it's not prolific there. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but the reality of you as a newbie getting started in that market is very, very challenging. And that's why you want to consider virtual wholesaling. I won't spill my coffee tonight, I promise. Although it's like borderline when drinking coffee this late. So, um, so that is the difference between virtual and local wholesaling. So local is anything 75 to 100 miles within your range there. And then virtual is basically you're definitely going outside your state lines. Um, let's talk a little bit about the advantages and disadvantages of doing these types. Okay, before I get into it. Local wholesaling is always going to be easier as long as you're not in one of these crazily highly established metro markets. As I said, San Fran, Manhattan, Miami, LA, stuff like that. It's just they're so established and the average price points are well north of $1 million. Wholesaling is not, it doesn't work as well in those. And as a beginner, you almost set yourself up for failure. There's people who have done it, but I'm not here to give you an uphill battle. And I'm going to give you the truth on it. There's so many people who sell you a program so you can virtually wholesale anywhere. I'm telling you, those markets I just told you about, you will have massive challenges because most of them you're going to have the money to close on it. And if you don't have $1 million to $2 million sitting access to that kind of cash, you probably got no shot at wholesaling those markets. So that's why I want you to consider doing virtual market. The local is better because you know the market. As long as you're not in one of those super hyped up markets, because you know what real estate goes for, you know what are the good areas, you know what the bad areas. It really, honestly, all real estate is local. The problem is when you get in those super elevated price points, wholesaling is a very, very minute part of the market. And that's why people look at virtual. So let's talk about virtual. Well, Rick, what are the pros and cons of virtual? Well, the pros are easy. Okay. You can go to any market you pick because you don't have to live there. You're not sending your kids to school there. You just pick a market, and hopefully you're picking a market because you're very familiar with the landscape in the area. You know the layout of the real estate, and maybe you had friends, families, you grew up there, maybe you went to college there, something. And if you do that, then virtual is easier. Virtual can be challenging when you just hop into a market because the first question is like, Rick, which market do I pick? And honestly, if you go over to freewholesaling.com, I teach you all how to do it. The easiest way to do is reverse engineer. Just find other wholesalers that are having success in a market, get on their cash buyers list, find the deals that they're getting in the zip codes, and start homing in on your price points in the zip codes. I like to do it by zip codes. When you see 5 or 6 properties being flipped in a current zip code by active investors, that's a great place to start at. And that's what you want to understand. So it's like, I don't understand like the Northeast with like freezing pipes and stuff. So I don't do those markets. Actually, I'm scared to death of freezing pipes. You guys have scared the heck out of me. But anything like from the Tennessee Valley down and stuff, I love in the virtual markets because I'm somewhat familiar with it. The downsides of virtual marketing is you are not local. And when you're not local, when you have a problem, it's a challenge to visit the property. It also takes on average 90 days to get your price points dialed in because so many of you guys go to a virtual market, you get it under contract, you go, oh my God, it's a smoking deal, Rick. And unfortunately, sometimes I have to tell you it's not. The reason is because you're trying to ration it to your local market. You can't do that in virtual. And I've done that. I've been guilty of it. And you're like, listen, a house for 30,000, how can I go wrong? You can go wrong because that could be the highest priced house in that market. So that being said, understanding the pros and cons in the perfect world, you always keep active in your local market and then you activate a virtual market. Understand you got to give it 3 months typically to be profitable. And the beauty of the virtual market is if it's not working out, you can always move to another market. You're never completely stuck. The downside is it takes you a while to get familiar with that market. So if you know that going into it, then it can be a lot of fun. So many people go into virtual market and they quit in the first 30 days. That's the last thing you want to do. You have to have a commitment because it takes time to understand the types of property you're buying, your marketing method that's going to work. Remember, every market is different. and it takes time to dial in the prices to find out what really is a great wholesaling deal. So for that reason, you want to get going on that. So we've already talked. I just let the cat out of the bag on how to find the best virtual market. It's just reverse wholesaling. Find wholesalers that are having success, the ones that like to brag, the ones that keep their ego and everything, the ones that don't vet their cash buyers list, which is 90% of wholesalers, and just take advantage. If it doesn't cost you a dime and they've already done all the groundwork, they've spent all the marketing dollars, guys, I'm just telling you, if it's put out there on the internet, it's for your use. There's nothing illegal with it. Go ahead and use it. I don't do this method anymore, so people can't duplicate what I do, but they still do it anyways because everybody knows where I'm at. So you're all welcome to come to my market. It doesn't matter to me. I've been here 20 years. I ain't going anywhere. So now that we know where the best virtual marketing is, the next thing we need to do is talk about the ARV. Okay. So if you don't know what ARV stands for, it's the after repaired value. That's a house that's in prestige, in perfect shape. And you got to figure out what that price point is, because that is the optimal point a property should always sell. It should get its highest value there. And for that point, most rehabbers want to know what that number is so they know what their total potential and profit is. So ideally, in a virtual market, you want to stay below $300,000. Average price point, and the city population has got to be 40,000 plus. Why? Because if you don't have enough of a population, it's much more challenging to sell these properties. And guys, keep in mind, you are not local in a virtual market. So I'm trying to stack the decks against you. I'd like to see 50,000 plus, but we find anything 40,000 or below, it's always a challenge to sell a property in a virtual market, especially when you don't live there. So 300,000 or below. And what you need to do is find out what the average price point in your market is. And you want to stay at that or below. 300,000 is the max, because once you go over 300,000, you can get in over your head on a virtual market. Remember, if you're just starting this out, I want you to contract the properties that have the highest probability of selling quick. That's why I give you these two rules on that. Okay. So our next one is, hey, Rick, how do I attack the marketing for these? And guys, it's not going to be a whole lot different on how I teach on doing your local market, because you need to get in there and find the most motivated people. So once you find your target zone, the zip codes, you did your reverse wholesaling to find out what market you're going to attack. What you want to do is go after government lists. Why? Because number one, they're free. And number two, they are usually going to point you to the highest motivation. Now, the challenge with this, getting these lists in a virtual market, the down part is you can't drive your car and go to like these local government offices and get these lists. So you're going to have to work by email and phone. Occasionally you have to recruit someone locally. You guys know I'm always going to preach to overcome resistance. You got to smash it up with persistence. You will get a lot of no's on these, but if you can get these lists, it's going to point you where motivated sellers are. Remember, wherever there's smoke, there's typically going to be fire. Government lists are dynamite. They work very well. They've never changed. We're not going to go anywhere, guys. These are going to be probates, eviction lists, divorce, pre-foreclosures. The list goes on and on and on. It's endless. Okay. If you want to learn more about it, go to freewholesaling.com. I'll show you how to do the whole thing. So, okay. The next one is Zillow Fizbo's, self-explanatory, for sale by owner. Getting that list. It's a great list to pull off, especially if you're brand new and you don't want to spend a dime. It is exhausting. It is taxing, but I'm telling you, tons and tons of people get deals from it. And if I was starting out today, I would work it. And even if you don't get a deal out of it, you are going to sharpen your skills as a wholesaler. I want you to make sure you use our techniques in freewholesaling.com and apply it when you do those cold calls, and you want to make it work. The other way is you can partner up with other wholesalers. They don't even have to be wholesalers. People who just want to get into real estate investing. Remember, the person that finds the leads should be very handsomely rewarded, because that's the hardest part of this business. So if you get a JV, don't put the screws to them, cut them in. If they're doing nothing other than providing you lead, get them involved, get them excited, because not only can you get them paid on that lead and you can give them a marketing fee, but you want them to bring you more leads. Okay, guys, I do this all the time in my local market, and you guys know I do it all over the country. Some deals are better than others, but once you get them in, it is a great way to get leads, because once you learn the skills at freewholesaling.com, you have the ability to take down any type of deal in wholesaling. So um, those are easy ways to find free motivated sellers. So let's switch over to, hey, Rick, what if I want to spend some money? Awesome question. So we're talking everything about virtual wholesaling. If you guys just jumped in right now, and you can rewind it because this is all recorded for you. So the paid ones, you can go to listrei.com, you can go to zacdata.com, and you can either use batch or you can use PropStream. Either one, we don't care. Find one that you like. They both give a free trial version. By the way, we're the only ones that offer both because we believe in fair competition in businesses, and we actually use them both. And we like each one. Each one has their specialties. So you guys can check it out. Okay. In there, you can go and find lists, and a lot of them you can pull up to 10,000 motivated seller leads per month. And then you can filter your list. You can find properties with high vacancies. You can do high equity properties. What else can you do? You can do liens. You can do zombie properties. It's endless what you can do. You can even find foreclosures in there. And without me going into details, so I don't tie up the whole live stream, is you can actually learn how to do this at freewholesaling.com. We have an entire list section. If you want to pull these types of lists, we tell you how to exactly set the filters, and you can use that. And by the way, these services are very relatively cheap, less than $100 a month. Well worth it over paying an employee or paying a private person to pull leads for you. So this is your paid version. You have your free version that gives you 2 combos to get deals at your fingertips whenever you want to do it. So let's talk about talking to sellers virtually, because I don't know about you, but this was probably me and Zach's biggest challenge when we got into virtual marketing, because nobody had like a really good answer to us. So it becomes it becomes a real challenge because you can't physically meet them. Now, for the most part, I would say 70%, probably 60% of sellers, if I had to take a local and a virtual market, I could get away with the phone only because I have a lot of skill set and I spend a lot of time with it. You guys are going to be a little bit less experienced in this arena. So I'm going to give you a quick little skill that works very well with virtual wholesaling when they go, hey, Rick, when you kind of come out and look at the property. Okay. So the biggest primary difference in virtual is you have to get them to commit to sign a contract over the phone via computer on like a DocuSign or any type of e-signature. Okay. And a lot of the biggest responses, they said, well, Rick, I'm not really comfortable till you kind of come out and look at the property. And honestly, if you get that, a lot of you just go, oh my God, how do I overcome this? And you instantly think you got to hire someone locally to go out there. So here's what I want you to say when they do that. It's like, okay, John, hey, John, you know what? That is a great point you make. And let me just tell you how our business operates. So I know that you're serious, and we look at a lot of properties, and we don't waste our time because every time we put contracts together, we do our due diligence, everything. It costs us a lot of money and time. So what we've decided to do, how we operate our business, is I'm going to send you a DocuSign. You sign the contract, and once you sign the contract, I'm going to schedule someone come out there and look at the property, usually within like 3 to 7 days. And that way we can already start the paperwork rolling on your property. And that way we can get it closed quickly. Does it sound fair? And simply is saying, this is the procedure in our company. I have to get the contract signed first for me to move forward on it. Okay. It's a lot different than locally, because if you're local, you can just hop in your car and solve that problem. Virtually, you really can't. Every now and then you get stuck and you have to hire someone to help you out, but I don't want you hiring somebody on every virtual appointment. Okay. So just tell them my company's process is to get the contract signed first, to make sure you're serious about it, because it costs us money to pull the title, have our staff work on it, and then I'll come out, take a quick look at the property. I'm sure it's going to be fine. And then we'll get the ball rolling on everything else. It's that simple. Guys, that is the biggest obstacle you're going to have to overcome virtual investing. And if you know how to say it just like that, and by the way, use the words that fit your soul. Like you're like, hey, okay, I get it. Like that's it. Blame it on the company's policy and it's much easier. Yeah, it might be just you at the company. Listen, I was the Rick and Flip with Rick for the first 7 years. Okay. And it worked. Now, I didn't do virtual investing when I started out. I graduated to doing that. But if you're going to do it, please take that little tip. It works out wonderfully and it'll help you get past that objection. It's probably the number one objection you're going to get for virtual wholesaling. Okay. Now, the next tool is like, Rick, do I have to use my cell phone? No, I'm telling you right now, what you want to use is what's called a virtual phone number. Okay. Some people call them VPNs. I know there's other words for it. I'm not a tech guy, so don't take me down that rabbit hole. But simply just using, ready? Google Voice works very well. You can call anybody on your computer. It acts as an auto dialer for you. You can even pick the area code you want it to go from, so it looks like you're local in that area code. If you were in a 978 area code, you can dial back from a 978. You can pick your number out on Google. Make sure you remove the Google Voice setting, like this is Google Voice. You can get rid of that. And I got to tell you, I just wait for one day for Google to hit me over the head with that. But I've had a Google number since, I want to say 2010, 2009, maybe in 2008. So what is that? Like 12, 13 years, it ain't going anywhere. It works well. And the really cool part about it is if you miss a phone call, it will transcribe the message for you. Guys, T-Mobile, Sprint, all these other services, CallRail, I have them all. Vumber, they charge an arm and a leg to do this. Use Google Voice. It'll at least cover one of your phone numbers. It's free. Get in there. If you don't have one, go in there and save one right now. I imagine this option is eventually going to be removed. Okay. The next one is you have to locate a local title company. Okay. It's so important you have a local title company. So the title company has to reside in the state where you're doing your virtual business. And preferably you want it near the county where you're doing it. You're probably going to do 2 or 3 counties within that area. And for that reason, that's what you want to do. If you want to learn more on how to find a virtual title company, it's all at freewholesaling.com. But the easiest way is basically go on a Facebook search and then look for investor groups in what city are you doing it. So if you're doing Atlanta, Georgia, put in investors Atlanta, Georgia, and then look in the threads of the post there and look for a title company they do business with. And you'll see a common thread. Look for a company that's familiar with doing assignments, that understand that you're working remotely. And once you find them, just work with them, tell them what you're trying to accomplish. And it's quite easy. I know you want to use your title company back in your home state, but that doesn't work in virtual investing. Please don't do that. It's not going to work. Find a local title company in the area you're doing business with. Okay. The next one is how to close sellers over the phone. Okay. So the biggest thing is getting their commitment to sign the contract. Once you get the contract signed, honestly, the biggest part of your objections is going to be over it. But I'm going to handle objections just like I would if I did it locally. Here's the difference, guys. When you're on the phone, you have to hyper pay attention to their tonality, to their speech, to how loud they are, how soft they are, how excited they get, how nervous they sound. And you have to really listen. So make sure you're in a very, very quiet room, like an office setting. Make it nice and quiet. Make sure the kids aren't screaming. Get the dog and cat under control because it's challenging because you can't physically see them. I know you guys, well, I can do a face-to-face. That's rare. I'm just telling you, it's rare when you do those. So when you get there, when talking to the seller over the phone, you have to answer every objection. And the best way to do this is go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you the sequences. We teach you the 4 qualifying questions, MCTP. If you guys don't know what that is, I promise you it's all in free wholesaling. We're going to talk about motivation, condition of the property, time frame, and pricing. And remember, price is never a motivating factor. It's just a result. That's all it is. Okay. But we still need to know what they need for the house. So remember, the only difference in virtual as far as local is you're closing everybody over the phone. And it's so important you pay attention and you follow the methods we teach in qualifying and disqualifying motivated sellers. Remember, guys, remember the cardinal rule. If there is no motivation, there is no deal in wholesaling. I promise you, you will spend hours and hours running around in circles and you will get nowhere because they are not motivated. A person who's only motivated by price needs a realtor or they need to suffer in the FSBO box for about 6 months to a year. Then they come over and talk to us wholesalers. So it's so important to understand that. Okay. The next one, you're going to use an e-signing service, DocuSign, Dotloop, Adobe. Oh my God, there's so many now. You guys pick whichever one's the easiest for you and is a reasonable cost. Don't make this difficult. Make it super simple. Here's another tip I do for you. Whenever I'm doing an e-sign or like a DocuSign, especially if you have older people, try to do it with them over the phone and walk them through opening the email. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. In worst case scenario, if an elder person or anybody doesn't have computer, they have this thing called overnight mail. You just go over to the United States Postal Service. It's about $25 for you to ship it to them. You put the contract in, you put a sticky note on the whole thing, and then you put in the package a returned mail back that the post office will put that in there for you. And then when they sign it and they put it in there, you can track it and you know exactly when they drop it. You usually get back a day or two later. Now, if that doesn't work, if it's just too complicated for them, offer a mobile notary. Okay. And guys, these mobile notaries are everywhere. You can go to notary123.com. You can look up in any city, in any state, and you can find a mobile notary, schedule it. It's usually anywhere from 50 to $100 max, depending on how much of a rush job you need. And the really cool thing is you can email them all the docs, tell them where to sign. They'll print it. They'll go physically get it signed. They'll get it notarized if you need it. And then they will mail you the packet back. So you have 3 options to get any deal signed. There's no barriers to do this. Just make sure you use it. Don't get so stuck on a DocuSign like you wait. We do about 20% overnight, and we probably do about another 10% in mobile notaries. And then the other, we try to do e-sign because that obviously eliminates a lot of the hassles we have in it. So find those services. They're really like cheap. You don't need a fancy one, just a simple one that'll work for you, and do it. Now, when it comes to hiring someone to take pics of the house, well, what do I need pics of the house? You need to get some sort of marketing material to get an idea of the condition of the house so you know how to price it, because that's the biggest question your cash buyers are going to have. So the easiest way to do is find somebody on Craigslist, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media you want to use. Find someone local, preferably a retired real estate agent, maybe like a part-time Uber driver or a DoorDash person, and then make sure they have a camera, preferably an iPhone, because the iPhone typically takes the best pictures and it's easily transmittable. Guys, if they don't have an iPhone, like they're one of these Android people, I used to be an Android, I converted over to iPhone. But even if they have like one of these great iPhone, like Samsung ones, which are really high quality camera, and you have an iPhone, set up a WhatsApp app and it will send you the file much cleaner. You'll have no issues. There's somewhat of a mess between Android and iOS. Like it's a very tiny pixelated picture. So if you have that problem, just get the WhatsApp. It's completely free, and send the videos and the pictures on that. And it works really, really well. And don't forget to have them taken video too. Okay. And by the way, the video, 9 times out of 10, we have the seller take the video for us, as long as they're not too elderly and they don't have like a flip phone. They can take a video, they upload it to like a Google Drive, make it simple. I tell them 2 minutes or less, because if it's like a 5 or 10 minute file, usually the video is very long, and some people don't know how to upload a Google Drive to that link to do it. So a lot of times, if you do it 2 minutes or less, you can actually email that file, and you want to keep it as simple as possible. Okay. The next one, how to find cash buyers virtually. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's not a whole lot different than what you're going to learn in the local market. And for that reason, you don't have to worry about that. So the easiest way to start out is really start in your Facebook groups, and just go in there and search for landlords that, honestly, I like to look for, I'm looking for landlord groups. So you can go. So once again, if I'm in Atlanta, I'm looking for a real estate investor group. Once you find it, you join it, you answer their 2 or 3 questions, and then you just keep searching groups like that. And then you will see, hey, I'm looking for a deal here. I'm looking for a deal there. Looking for cash buyers in your market. You're looking for cash buyers in your market. So don't search in your local market. It's not going to make sense. Make sure you go to the market that you're working in. Facebook groups is probably the best way to get the most amount of cash buyers. You can scrape their emails, you can ask them for their phone number, and for that reason, you can build a large cash buyers list real quick. The second way you can do it is you can jump over to listrei.com or zachdata.com and you can pull cash sales for that area for the last 6 months. You can go back as far as 1 year and you can pull that list. Understanding we have market conditions changing, so a lot of those old buyers might not be up to date on the new buyer standards, and you want to get the most up to date information as you can. So I would probably cut it back to 6 months, if not even 3 months. Okay, because remember, somebody 6 months or a year ago was paying a lot more than they are today, and you're going to have that issue when it comes up. So we're looking for like new, fresh buyers. Don't forget, go in places and look. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Look for landlords that are trying to actively rent properties in the markets and where you're doing virtual wholesaling. Why? Because they're always looking to add more rentals to their portfolio. I'm always looking for more rentals in my area. I buy from local wholesalers if the number works, which is very rare. We just kind of go out and get our deals. But if I'm in a virtual market, I would probably be very happy to buy something from a wholesaler that would actually make financial sense. So you want to collect your cash buyers on there. I'm going through my list here. I'm trying to make sure I hit everything. So how do you walk cash buyers through virtually? This that can be a little bit of a sticky, tricky one on this one. And this is where a lot of newbies get messed up on it. So say you get a property under contract, you lock it up, you got a great deal. You've taken pictures, the sellers helped you with videos, everything. You've got 3 or 4 people and they want to take a look at the property. Okay. Awesome. That's a great problem to have. That's what you want. So number one, you have to assess, first of all, is the house vacant or is it homeowner occupied? Meaning the person lives there and resides there. First off, if the house is vacant, it's a piece of cake. Just send them there. If you want to hire someone locally to babysit them and walk them around, usually a retired real estate agent or someone like that, or a former property inspector or property manager is perfect for that job. The hard part is if it's homeowner occupied, what do you do? In all fairness, the best way to do that is to try to find somebody locally and pay them between $50 and $100 and have them escort those buyers. And usually what you do is stagnate the buyers about 30 minutes apart. So if I had 3 buyers coming by, I'm going to set up, like an hour and a half window. Okay. And I'm going to let the seller know I'm going to be there for, roughly like 2 hours looking everything over, inspecting it. Now, half the sellers will go, hey, I'm going to leave. I don't want any part of this. That it kind of annoys me. And the other half is like, they just want to sit around and just kind of check things out. It's their house. They have that right. When the cash buyer comes, you meet them at the front door. Make sure you know exactly how many people are showing up to look at the property. So when you vet your cash buyer, say, listen, okay, Susie, you're coming over at 1:00. I just want to confirm it's just you showing up. Sometimes she'll say, hey, listen, I'm bringing my contractor. What's your contractor's name? Write it down. It's important because if Susie wants to show up with 4 people, you're in trouble because you cannot control the conversation. Okay. The most important thing is know how many people are coming. Make sure they honor the time slots. Tell them not to come early. They won't be there. Buyers like to come early all the time, by the way. That's why you want to spread them out at least a half hour. And when you come in, your number one priority is meet them at the front door. Say, take a quick look around. You got 5 minutes. The seller's in there. Please do not speak to her. She's very sensitive about the selling of her house. If you speak to her, I'm not going to sell you the property. Walk through the house and I'll meet you back at the front yard. Please do not talk to my seller. That's it. That's the most important. And then your job is to get them started, get them down the hallway, and you go sit with your seller. You guard your seller like a fine wine. Don't let anybody touch her, open her, do anything with it. The biggest risk when you bring a cash buyer to a property is them talking directly with the seller and them thinking they can scoot around you or getting your seller upset and creating problems where you don't need them. This is the most important part. I get them in the house and get them out as fast as I can. And when they want to discuss price, I'll go out to the porch. I'll go out to the car far away from the seller. And then I'm keeping my eyes peeled for the other buyer to come in. When they come, I tell them they got to go. And 9 times out of 10, they're always just saying, well, I got to think about it. I go, well, that's fine. I got like 3 or 4 other buyers coming. So we're going to make a decision on this today. So don't think too long and hard about this. it's first come, first serve. That's it, guys. That's as simple as you're going to need it. Now, keep in mind, you're going to need a runner or boots on the ground to help you do this when you have multiple sellers. And honestly, the $50 or $100 is well worth it when you have multiple buyers. You've just got to take stock in your seller. If your seller cannot handle it, you need to assess the situation, because usually you only get one shot, maybe two shots to sell them. If you have a cooperative seller, you can yank between 4 and 6 people in there. But remember, this is why we want you to vet your cash buyers as much as possible, so you don't have to waste time figuring stuff out when they get there, find out they're not really a cash buyer. And then you only get so many people to show the house to, you don't want to waste it. So it's brutally important. Okay. The best person for this is, as I said, a realtor, a JV partner, a hire person, Facebook, an ex-property manager. Shoot, I like Uber and DoorDash drivers because they got a lot of time in between their hands. But Facebook is one of the best places to find these people, and it works really well. So once you get your cash buyer through that, you can have them sign assignment of contract. And guess what? You can have them do it on an e-sign, a DocuSign, the whole 9 yards. Or what I like to do is send it over to my title company, have them go by, leave their deposit, and sign the assignment of contract. And the assignment of contract is simply another contract that attaches to your original contract. And basically they're fulfilling your place. And basically you close the deal and you get paid at closing, and you just keep doing it over and over. So I get so many of you guys asking me about, hey, you know what? How do I do virtual wholesaling? The biggest challenge is you just got to get started. You're never going to have every question answered. I love people who pick markets out that they're somewhat familiar. Maybe they lived there for a few years. Maybe a family member lives there. And if you can get some help, oh my gosh, it's even better. It is phenomenal if somebody has the lay of the land for you there and they kind of know it, because then you just have to bring your marketing skill sets and your ability to talk the sellers to the table, and then use the practice that we teach over on freewholesaling.com. And I said, guys,